mynews.studio.
A beaver building a dam in Cornwall after decades. How does something like that actually come about? And what could it mean for conservation around the world?
Right, and today is August 6th, 2025. To set the stage, let's take a step back. About 100 years ago, wildlife populations were collapsing everywhere. Wolves vanished from Yellowstone. Beavers disappeared from British rivers. Whales were nearly hunted out. What caused these dramatic declines?
It really came down to human actions: overhunting, destroying habitats, pollution. By the 1970s, even species people thought were untouchable, like the bald eagle or the black-footed ferret, were nearly gone. And it wasn't just about single species. Whole ecosystems started to unravel.
But then, something changed. Take Yellowstone's wolves, reintroduced in 1995. Just 14 animals. Why is that such a landmark moment?
Because it triggered a cascade effect through the ecosystem. Wolves kept elk numbers in check, which allowed willows and aspens to recover. That in turn brought back beavers, who then stabilized riverbanks and built new wetlands. Ecologists call this a trophic cascade, where one change leads to effects across several layers of the ecosystem.
And we're beginning to see similar patterns elsewhere. In Cornwall, for instance, beavers are back after decades. Why are beavers so critical?
Their dams create wetlands, which support a huge variety of plants and animals, and also help manage floods and droughts. They're what's called a keystone species, meaning if you remove them, the whole system shifts.
It's not just mammals either. Britain's rarest breeding bird, the Montagu's harrier, is nesting again. Sussex is seeing rare butterflies. What's behind these kinds of recoveries?
It comes down to targeted, science-based actions: restoring habitats, legal protections, captive breeding, and importantly, bringing local communities on board. Each situation needs its own mix, matched to the species and the place.
We're seeing it globally, too. Whales making a comeback off Australia. Tiger numbers up in India and Bhutan. Olive Ridley turtles nesting in Bangladesh. What's the common thread in these success stories?
Long-term commitment, steady funding, sustained political will, and strong local partnerships. For whales, it was international bans on hunting. Tigers benefited from anti-poaching patrols and connecting habitats. Turtles, local awareness campaigns, with villages protecting nesting beaches.
But for every species that's coming back, there are many more declining, nearly 1 million at risk of extinction. Are we just putting out fires, or is there a move toward prevention?
That's the heart of it. Most conservation is still reactive, emergency triage. Experts are pushing to get ahead of the problem. Protect habitats before they're damaged, manage human impacts early, control invasive species before they spread. It's more effective and less expensive in the long run.
So, in practical terms, what would that shift look like in policy?
It means integrated wildlife action plans, reliable long-term funding, and putting local governance at the center. Conservation has to be woven into land use, farming, even economic policy, not just handled as separate projects. And crucially, communities aren't just consulted, they're equal partners.
There's also the economic side. When keystone species, wolves, beavers, whales recover, what happens to the local economy?
Often, it's a positive chain reaction. Wolves in Yellowstone drew more tourists and stabilized the ecosystem. Beavers create wetlands that help fisheries and farming. Whales, ecotourism thrives and marine food webs recover. In the Serengeti, when wildebeest bounced back, grazing stabilized and wildfires dropped, supporting both wildlife and people.
So these aren't miracle fixes, but they're blueprints. What's holding back wider adoption? Is it funding, politics, or something else?
All of those factors. Political will can change, funding is often short-term, and sometimes local voices are overlooked. The projects that succeed most are adaptive, based on good science, and rooted in community involvement.
And why should this matter to everyone, not just people interested in wildlife?
because biodiversity supports food, clean water, climate stability, even public health. These examples show that with the right strategies, we can reverse declines and restore balance, which helps both nature and people.
And maybe most importantly, they prove it's possible. Not guaranteed, but possible.
Exactly. It's hope backed by evidence, a reminder that conservation efforts do work and that scaling them up is within reach.
Beavers in Cornwall, tigers in Bhutan, whales off Australia, the pattern is clear. The question is, are we ready to follow it?
Thanks for joining us as we looked at how focused conservation brings species back from the edge and what that could mean for our future.
We talked about what's working, strategies that make a difference, and why it's time to shift from emergency response to prevention. The takeaway? Conservation isn't only about saving animals, it's about restoring stability for everyone.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.